Okay. All right, so again, the first thing it says to preheat the oven, we're not gonna do that. Okay, so for our chicken, can you give me a thumbs up if you have thinly sliced chicken breast? Okay, I see some. Can you give me a thumbs up if you have regular chicken breast that we're gonna have to slice? Okay, so I'm just gonna go, I have regular chicken breast, so I'm just gonna go through those steps really quickly. If you don't have thinly sliced chicken breast, or excuse me, if you do already have thinly sliced chicken breast, you could just use this as a tip for the next time that you might have to do this. Well, I saw there was a chat quick. Yes. Okay, Sharon, the popsicle class was supposed to be on the 11th. Something changed in my schedule very last minute, so we ended up changing it to next weekend. Again, if that doesn't work for you, you could always sign up, get the recording, and you can always watch that later on. But that was a recent change, so thank you for pointing that out. Okay. So first off, I have this is a cutting board that I have that I use only for raw meat. So then that way I avoid any cross contamination with some fruits or vegetables. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take the chicken out. If you don't like touching raw chicken, you could always use a pair of gloves. And then the other thing you want to be careful with is always just making sure you wash your hands after you touch it or anything that touches the chicken. So then that way we make sure we're being safe and no one's gonna get sick. Okay, so this is a regular chicken breast here. So what we're gonna wanna do is to make it thin is I'm gonna wanna slice it down the middle like this. So in order to safely do this, I'm gonna take my hand and place it flat onto the chicken breast, and then I have my knife facing me, but I'm going to be very careful. I'm gonna slide it in to the middle here, and then using my hand, I'm making sure that the chicken's not moving. So then that way, as I pull my knife through here, it's not coming near me at all. And then what I'm left with is two thinner pieces of chicken. Is this going to be as thin as your thin sliced chicken breast you find at the store? No, but you could always pound it a little bit too. That will get it to be as thin as possible. But you don't have to do that. So I'm just going to do that again with my other chicken breast. Just going to cut this little part off here, because this recipe does call for 4 thin chicken breasts. So again, I'm placing my hand flat on my chicken breast. I'm putting my knife into the middle, and by pressing down, I'm making sure the chicken is not moving and the knife is staying exactly where I put it. So I'm not going to cut myself, and I'm only going to cut the chicken. And then I'm left with that. So I'm going to throw away my garbage. Okay, so then right now, I have a dirty chicken hand and a clean hand. So I'm going to use my clean hand to put salt and pepper onto the chicken. And then I'm going to keep my dirty hand dirty to touch the chicken. For anyone who just joined, all we've done is slice our chicken so far, if you had to slice it. If not, then we have our 4 chicken breasts here, and we're going to season them with salt and pepper. Ooh, I need more salt. All right, so you just want to do each side with some salt and pepper. If you had to cut your chicken breasts like me and you have someone cooking with you, if your hands are dirty, you could always have someone else do the salt and peppering, or just wash your hands before. I'm using I have one clean hand and one dirty hand. So I'm just sprinkling it, kind of rubbing it around, make sure everything's covered. I'm going to do the salt first and then the pepper. You can always use what's on the cutting board too. Flip it over. And then my pepper, I have to use a grinder, so I'm going to have to wash my hands quick. Okay, now I'm just gonna do pepper quick. Use a fork to flip this so I don't have to wash my hands again right now. That's another thing you can do. You can always use a fork to flip if you don't want to touch the chicken either. All right, so once everyone has their chicken salt and peppered, give me a thumbs up and we will go on. All right, looks like everyone is all set. Okay, so now the next thing we're gonna do is spread our fig jam onto each chicken cutlet. Just put this away. I was not able to find fig jam yesterday at the store, so I have let's see, what do I have? Some blueberry. I think that's what I'm going to try. If you don't have fig jam, I know we got an email asking if you couldn't find it, what you could replace it with. You really could replace it with anything, or you could just omit it if you don't have it. It's either way. I have some blueberry preserves. I'm just gonna try that because why not? I feel like that would go well with the peach flavor. So I'm just gonna take a little spoon and I'm actually going, what I'm gonna do, since my spoon is also going to touch my raw chicken, what I'm gonna do, I have a small ramekin here. I'm gonna take a small amount out, as much as I think I would need. So then that way I'm not putting that spoon that has touched raw chicken back into my jar, which would then contaminate the whole jar. So I'm just gonna do a thin layer. Nothing crazy here. Just like that, so it's covered. You could do more, you could do less. All right, so just like that, they're all covered only on one side. We don't have to do both sides. And then once you've got all your chicken covered, give me another thumbs up. We'll go on to the next step. I see some already. Awesome. And I know we had some people join a little bit later. I just wanted to let you guys know as well in the beginning. I did tell everyone we're going to try and do this without using the oven just to today's class flow a little bit better. So just bear with me when it comes to the cooking steps. We're going to be doing stuff slightly differently from what's on the written recipe. And I also said I will type up some directions for when the email comes out tomorrow for what we did as well. So that way you have both options in the future if you'd like to make this recipe again. Okay, does anyone need any more time spreading their jam on their chicken, or are we all good? Okay, I see we need a little more time for William. Take your time, just let me know when you're good. In the meantime, I'm just gonna grab the pan that I'm gonna be using to cook the chicken in. I've got a pretty good size skillet here, so I can fit all 4 pieces. If not, if you don't have one that would fit all 4, you can always use 2, or you can just cook 2 at once and then the other 2 afterwards. Whatever works easier. How are we doing? Do we still need some more time? Okay, it looks like everyone's good. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna wrap each piece of chicken with prosciutto. So I'll show you guys. Each piece is probably gonna get 2 pieces of prosciutto. That way it's fully covered. So again, this is gonna be, we're gonna be touching the chicken. So if you don't like touching the chicken, you can always put gloves on, or you can have someone help you out. But again, our hands are gonna be dirty after this. So we're not gonna wanna touch anything else until we've washed our hands, besides what we're using. So I'm taking 1 piece here, and sometimes prosciutto is really thinly sliced, so sometimes it falls apart. If it does, that's okay. Just work with it. Like one of mine just fell apart already. So we will make it work. Hold on. Just gotta grab it all. Okay. So I'm gonna take my first piece. And this is gonna get a little messy too, since we have jam on the chicken too. So just bear with it. So I'm just gonna wrap the chicken. Again, my prosciutto kind of fell apart, so it's just want to make sure each piece is covered. The front and the back. So you're probably gonna have, like I said, you're probably gonna have to use 2 pieces per chicken breast. All right. Okay. This one wasn't as easy because everything fell apart, but we've got it wrapped. Let's see if my next one will stay together. But again, as long as it's covered, doesn't have to look perfect. Okay, here we go. I got a nice full piece here. So I'm going to start at the front, keep wrapping it around. And I'm going to do that across the whole piece of chicken. Right. So again, going front to back. If it breaks as you wrap, that's all right. It's all ending up in the same pan anyway. Okay, I'm on my last piece. Got a couple little pieces left. I'll just stick wherever. And then again, once you're done, so I just finished wrapping my chicken. Now the first thing I'm going to do is throw out this garbage and then wash my hands before I touch anything else. All right, I got clean hands now. Once everyone has wrapped their chicken and washed their hands, give me another thumbs up and we'll keep on going. I see a bunch already. Awesome job, everyone. So for now, we're gonna set this aside. I don't want to put it in the pan just yet until we're ready to cook it. So I've placed my chicken cutting board to the side, and now I have a new clean cutting board that we're gonna use for some fruits and vegetables. So I've got a nice new clean cutting board here. I'm also gonna use a new clean knife. If you've only got one of each, just make sure you wash it really good, and that'll be okay. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do, we have 2 shallots for this recipe. So we're gonna cut them in half lengthwise. And the easiest way to go about this, you can see I still have the skin on mine. Right now I'm gonna leave it on because it'll be much easier to peel once we cut them in half. So I'm gonna hold this shallot long ways on the cutting board, and this is gonna be super easy. We've done this cut before. I'm just gonna hold my knife along the shallot, push down. So now we've got these 2 long pieces here, and then now you can see the skin's just kind of coming off. So we're gonna find.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is he doing with the chicken?
The chicken right now, I've left it on the cutting board. We're just gonna leave it there until we're ready to put it in the pan.
All right.
So I have my shallots here, and you can see it's kind of peeling. So what we want to take off is just this outer layer that's dry. That's very easy to come off. That's the stuff that we're not going to want to eat. So we're just gonna peel that off of each side of the shallot. Sometimes it takes a little bit to come off. There we go. And then I'm just gonna cut, this end is looking a little dry, so I'm just gonna cut that off. If yours does not look like that, then you do not have to cut it off. So this is what our finished shallot half should look like. So I'm just gonna do that to the other side. This one has like 2 layers of that dry skin, so I'm gonna make sure to take both of those off. That one came off much easier. And then again, this end too is a little dry, so I'm just gonna cut that off. And we're gonna do the same thing we just did with our second shallot. So again, you're gonna hold it in the middle, slice right down the middle lengthwise, and pull that skin off. This one's got 3 layers of dry skin, so I'm just gonna take all those off. Slice those ends off quick. All right, and then all of that skin is garbage. And I'm just gonna leave the shallots on the edge of my cutting board for right now. All right. So once everyone has got all their shallots sliced in half, give me another thumbs up. We'll go on to the next step. Looks like everyone's all good. Awesome. Okay, so next we're going to do our peaches. So peaches can be tricky because we've got a pit in the middle. And I still am trying to figure out the best way to cut a peach too. But for now, we're going to try this way and see if it works. So we can at least see what's going on. So we've got a pit right in the middle of here. And you can see there's kind of like a line that goes around your peach. So what we're going to do, I'm going to have my peach on the cutting board, and it's not going to leave the cutting board the whole time so we don't hurt ourselves. I'm going to put that knife into the middle of the peach until I feel that pit. I can't go down any further now because that pit is in the middle. So I'm going to carefully turn the peach while keeping my knife in place. So I'm going to go around the entire peach with the pit. So now I've made a cut around the entire peach. And I'm going to twist the 2 halves and break them open like that. Someone just said I'm muted. Can people hear me or no? You can? Okay, good. Okay, so now I've seen that people can somehow get this peach out, this pit out of here. I've never had luck doing that. So for this, I'm just going to say we'll just cut around it. But for this half, we want the peaches to be in like wedges. So I'm going to cut, hold on, let me clean this off quick. I'm gonna cut down the middle first. So I have 2 halves like that. And then I'm gonna cut each half in half again. So I've got some nice wedges here. So that's what we've got for the non-pit half.
I
For the
can't
pit
hear
half,
you any longer.
we're gonna just try and our best to cut around it. So I'm gonna say we're gonna cut 1 slice on the side like this. 1 slice on the side like that. Let's see, all right. You can kind of get a slice off the back. So they're not gonna be perfect. These 2 we can slice in half. So they're not gonna be completely uniform, but that's fine. And then this way, we're not left with much extra. You can always eat around that pit too. So we can do it again together because I know that was kind of tricky, but the pits are a little tough to work around. Okay, so we're gonna do that one more time. I have my peach. I see the line down the
Coming
middle.
through.
I'm entering it, the peach. I can't go down any farther now. I'm gonna twist. So I go around the whole peach. So now I have the cut around. I'm gonna take both halves, twist them, pull it apart. And then we're just gonna cut. Here, I'll do the pit half first, since the non-pit half is easier. So we're just gonna do 1 slice on one side of the pit, 1 slice on the other side of the pit, and then 1 slice the back. So we've got our slices here. These 2 I'm gonna slice in half. And then this one, again, super easy. Just slice in half, half again, half again. So we just do that with 2 peaches. So now we're left with all our slices. If anyone knows of any tricks to get a peach pit out, let me know. There might be some sort of kitchen tool that you can use. So once everyone has their peaches sliced, just give me another thumbs up and we'll keep going. All right, looks like everyone's good for the most part. Does anyone need more time? Awesome. Great job, everyone. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to the chicken again for a sec. We're gonna start getting our pan ready. So I have my pan here. Let's see, do I have a So whatever pan you're going to be using, you want to have that in front of you. And I'm going to squirt. It's when I want to do a little olive oil in there so the bottom's covered. Once you do that, you're going to want to nestle your chicken in there. Like mine's just gonna fit. Yeah. So it's gonna be a little crowded in there at first, but once it starts to cook, it'll shrink down a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to. Okay, once your chicken's in the pan, get that cutting board into your sink. And once again, we're gonna wash our hands. So once everyone has got your chicken in the pan, give me another thumbs up and we're gonna start cooking. Okay. So this is gonna be the first change right here that we make from the recipe, because if you notice, it says to arrange the shallots and the peaches around the chicken. There's not much space for that right now, so we're gonna wait for it to cook down a little bit before we do that, since we're doing everything on top of the stove.
Does it
So
need
I'm
to be
placing the
non-stick?
pan. What was that?
Does it need to be non-stick?
No, it doesn't
Pan?
have to be. Whatever you've got. Just make sure there's some olive oil in the bottom. All right, so I'm gonna put this up to medium-high heat. We're gonna get that going. All right, I actually think I have an idea here. Does everyone have a second smaller pan on them? Like another small skillet? Thumbs up if you do. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. This is gonna make it a little bit easier, I think, for the stovetop. And again, I'll type out all these instructions. So basically what this recipe is doing is the vegetables are going to become the sauce, or the peaches and the shallots, so the fruits and vegetables, eventually would become the sauce, and then the chicken. So we're going to have the chicken cook in this pan, and then we're going to put the shallot and the peaches in another pan, have those cooked down, and then that's going to make our sauce. So I'm going to have everyone get out another smaller saucepan skillet. And we're going to put some olive oil in here too. And then what we're going to do in here is just arrange these. I'm going to do flat side down. So the shallots, you're going to do flat side down. Peaches, just one side down. And then we're going to cook these at the same time. And they should be done at the same time. So that'll go well. Again, I apologize for the diversion from the written recipe, but I will make sure I have this written out for you guys.
Do we need to put olive oil in the pan as well for the peaches and the shallots?
Yes.
Since we don't have peaches, since we don't have peaches, then what kind of fruit will we use instead of peaches?
Josh, you said you don't have peaches?
We couldn't find any in the grocery store.
But we
Okay,
have
that's okay. Do you have anything else on you? Do you have any other fruit?
We have apples.
You could try it with
We
apples.
could apples. We could get like pears probably, but I just didn't know if there was any other fruit that would come to mind.
I mean, I know like nectarines are similar to peaches. I don't know if those were at the store, but I think you can pretty much try any sort of like an apple, pear.
Okay.
Any
Is it
of
gonna
those
be
kind
a
of
sauce? What I did do is buy peach preserves. I figured for the flavor.
Yeah, that could work too. Easy. Because
Okay.
this is just like those end up like being cooked down in like part of the sauce. They're not actually like on the chicken or anything. So if you don't have them or anything, it's not the end of the world. I think it would
Okay.
still taste really good. But if you want to try a different fruit, absolutely go for it.
Yeah. Okay, great.
All right, does everyone have this second pan with the shallots and the peaches all set? Okay, so we're gonna put that also on the stove. My chicken's starting to boil or sizzle, rather. Okay, so we're gonna come over here. The peaches and shallots, I'm going to shallots in one pan on medium heat, and we've got our chicken in the other pan on medium high heat. So we're just gonna kind of watch these at the same time and go from there. Does anyone have any questions? I know what we just did was a change, our first change from the recipe. Okay. So my chicken's starting to cook a little bit. That's good. And another thing is once you start to flip this chicken, that's again going to be touching raw chicken. So you want to make sure you have one utensil for the chicken and one utensil for the peaches and the shallots. Yes, eventually we will flip the chicken. We're going to let it cook on this side first. And then once we see it's cooked for a few minutes, then we're going to go ahead and flip it. Because we're going to try and get that prosciutto to get crispy as well. Has everyone's chicken started cooking a little bit? Let's give this a look. I'm just gonna see how the bottom's looking here. All right, I've got some browning going on. So if everyone sees some browning, we're gonna flip our chicken. So I'm using a pair of tongs here. I'm just gonna go under and flip. Here, I'll show you. So that prosciutto's got some nice color and the chicken's cooking too. So we're just gonna flip all 4 pieces. And now this, I'm gonna wash since it touched the raw chicken, so then that way I can keep using it. And my peaches and shallots are starting to cook as well. I'm just gonna give those a quick toss. I'm gonna turn the heat on my chicken down a little bit. Just because I see the bottom's getting a little crispy. You can see I'm getting some color on the shallots and the peaches. That is exactly what we're going for. I'm gonna check my chicken again. I'm flipping my chicken again because this second side, here, I'll show you. This got really nice and brown. So I'm gonna try and get that first side like that too. The peaches and the shallots are starting to break down, so I'm gonna turn that off for now. And how is everyone's chicken looking? Awesome. Okay. I think mine is pretty much good. We're gonna put it back in the pan once we've got the sauce going. So for now, I'm going to remove. We're gonna take the chicken out and just put it on a plate. And we're gonna put it back in eventually. So even if it needs a couple more minutes, it's gonna get some color. All right, and you can see the bottom of my pan does not look so pretty, but that's just from all of that, we had the jam in there, we had the prosciutto, there was a lot of caramelization going on. So our sauce is gonna help remove those good bits from that. So we're gonna be working with this pan that we had the chicken in. The first thing we're gonna wanna add, because that's what's gonna bring up the stuck bits the most, is the 4th cup of white wine. And that's optional. I see someone said their chicken hasn't browned yet. Is it cooked? If it's cooked at least, you can always put it back in after. Okay, perfect. So the wine is optional in the recipe. If you don't want to use wine, chicken broth is a really great alternative as well, because that will have the same effect. So we're gonna measure a 4th cup, either wine or chicken broth, or if you don't have either of those, you can also just use water too. Okay. And if you are using wine, I mean, honestly, any of them, it's going to make a big noise and come up a little bit, so just be careful adding it. So it's got nice and bubbly. And I've got the heat on like medium low right now. And you can see it's starting to get all those burnt pieces off. I'm going to add a slight touch more. And then once everyone has that added, just give me another thumbs up. We will keep on going. The next thing we're going to want to do is add a tablespoon of butter. Put that right in.
Excuse me, how much butter are we gonna add? How much butter are we gonna add?
What was that, Joshy? It cut out.
How much butter are we gonna add?
You're going to add 1 tablespoon of butter.
Okay.
Just going to mix that around.
Was that a cup of wine?
It was a 1/4 cup. And then I added another little splash just to kind of get more of the burnt stuff off the bottom. All right, everyone got their butter in? Okay, the next thing we're gonna do, another optional ingredient. If you don't like spice, you don't have to add it. We're just gonna do a slight pinch of red pepper flakes, nothing crazy. But again, if you don't like spice, you can definitely omit it. I'm just gonna put in a little pinch.
How much butter? Sorry.
1 tablespoon. How's everyone looking? Are we ready for the next step? We're gonna add the garlic in a sec. I just don't want it to burn, so I'm gonna do it in a little bit. All right, so the next thing we're gonna add is 1/2 cup of balsamic vinegar. I'm just gonna measure 1/2 cup. And we're gonna add that to the pan. And as that cooks, you'll start to smell it. It'll go right in the nose. Does everyone have their balsamic vinegar added? Thumbs up if you do. Okay, perfect. So now we're gonna do we're gonna do 4 cloves of garlic. Here, I'll bring you guys back over here for a sec. I'm just gonna smash the cloves to get the flavor. We don't have to chop or anything. So I have my garlic cloves in the skin. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place them on the cutting board and then take the back of my knife and the back of my hand, press down until I hear it crack. That's gonna make the skin come off super easy. And then the garlic is kind of cracked itself, so the flavor is gonna come out into the sauce. I'm just gonna remove this icky part. And then we're gonna do that with 4 cloves of garlic. So then you can just put those whole cloves in that are smashed into that pan. And you won't have to worry about chopping it. More. Right, so we've got 4 garlic cloves in there. Just gonna stir that around. We want this to come to a boil eventually, because then it's gonna become nice, thick sauce. So I'm gonna put the heat up to medium now. And then once everyone has their smashed garlic cloves in the pan, give me another thumbs up. We are almost there. Starting to bubble, that's perfect. We're gonna wanna take just the shallots right now from our smaller pan and put those in the sauce as well. Ooh. Like I said, if you're standing over the sauce, the vinegar is gonna go right up your nose. So just be careful. So I left my peaches in the small pan, but I added the shallots into the sauce for now. Once everyone has their shallots added, maybe one more thumbs up. We're gonna add one more thing to this sauce before we let it keep cooking. Okay, looks like everyone's good. We're just gonna add some thyme leaves from some fresh sprigs of thyme. So we're gonna need 4. And one of my favorite things about thyme is that it's very easy to take off the sprig. So you're just gonna hold the sprig over your pan at the top with one hand. You're gonna pinch it. Then you take your other hand, pinch as well, and you just gently drag down, and all those leaves will fall right off. So you're gonna do that with 4 sprigs of thyme. So again, you pinch at the top, pinch right below that, and very gently drag the leaves down with you. And mine is starting to bubble really nice, which means it's gonna start getting thicker. I'm just gonna give it a stir. You can see too, there is still some stuff stuck to the bottom of my pan. There's still some, but a lot of it was picked up by making that sauce. So that's really good. And then you just scrub it a little extra when you clean it and it should be good. How is everyone's sauce looking? Do we have some bubbling going on as well? Awesome. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna quickly put that chicken back in the skillet, just so it can kind of meld with everything. We're gonna nestle those in there. Any juice that's on your pan too, you're gonna want to put that back in too, because that's just extra flavor. So we've got our chicken back in, and then we're gonna put our peaches in too. Just gonna put those right on top. We're just gonna let that cook for 1 more minute. All right, so I'm gonna turn the heat off. So once this is done cooking and you're ready to eat it, you're gonna top it with burrata, which is a nice, really creamy cheese, and some fresh basil. And I wanted to show you guys something that I like to do with basil. That's really pretty. And what this is called is a chiffonade, which is a kind of cut, and it's going to make your basil into really pretty little strings. So I'm just going to take a couple pieces, a couple leaves here. So the first way to do this, you're going to take your basil leaves and you're going to stack them on top of one another. You're going to lay them flat on top of each other. So you have your little stack of basil leaves. And then you roll them up as tightly as you can, so they're in a nice little log. So now we've got a little log of basil here. So then what we do, we're going to put the log long ways on the cutting board. And then you take your knife, you carefully just kind of slice that log. And then what you end up with, these really pretty ribbons of basil, which is a really nice way to top something with basil instead of just chopping it or throwing a leaf on top. And that's why you get a nice little bite. So you get the flavor of basil without it being too overpowering. So you get these nice little ribbons that you can use to put on top of this dish, any dish, but that's kind of my favorite way to top something with basil. So I thought I would teach you guys that. So you can use this to go right on top of that chicken. Okay, so is anyone eating this right now? If you are, give me a thumbs up. Okay, so a couple people are. So I'm going to go through two things, because if you're not eating it right now, I would not put the burrata on top, because you don't want that to, you're going to want to reheat the chicken and you don't want the burrata to get hot. So if you're not reheating it, or excuse me, if you're not eating it right now, leave the chicken as is. If you are eating it right now, you can put it on your plate, and then what you're going to want to do, I'm trying to just figure out how to describe this best without doing it, because I'm not eating it right now either. So usually the burrata comes in one of these little containers, and I think I've got 2 balls in here. So if you're eating 1 piece of chicken, you're going to want to do a half a ball of burrata per piece of chicken, if that makes sense.
Half a ball burrata, she said.
So then you can either rip it in half, cut it in half, put that on top of your chicken, and then put that basil on top. And if you're not eating it right now, we're not going to do that, because then that way when you reheat the chicken, the burrata is not going to get all melty. Because part of the nice part of this recipe is that you got the hot chicken with the cold burrata, and it kind of makes it a nice, refreshing dish. If that makes sense. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay, perfect. Well, even though some of us aren't eating it, you know me, I would love to take a picture with our finished recipes. So you can always just hold up what you've got. So if you guys would love to get in my picture, I'm going to hold my pan up. Or you can put it on a plate, whatever's easiest for you. But even if you're not eating it right now and it's not fully plated with burrata, you don't have to, you can still put your stuff in the picture. So everyone get ready for me.
Hold your pan. Don't be scared. Just need one.
I'm going to get ready here too.
Hold the pan.
All right, I'm gonna give us a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Smile. Beautiful. All right. Okay, and then like I said, with the email tomorrow, I'm gonna type up some stovetop instructions as well, and that will come, so it'll come with the stovetop and the oven instructions. You can use whatever you want in the future. Again, also, like I said in the beginning, the next class is now next weekend instead of August 11th. So that will be in that email as well, just a reminder that it will be next Sunday. If no one has any questions, I mean, have any questions at all?
This.
All right, then I hope to see you guys next week. Thank you for taking the time to cook with me again, and I hope you enjoyed yourselves and enjoy your chicken. Bye.